Welcome with Bebrit and beyond. Today we're gonna visit York. York is a city full of history and it means a lot to us because Andrea is a Yorkshire lass. York is the historic heart of northern England and the capital of Yorkshire. York is ancient, full of stories, legends, ghosts and history around every corner. But just how old is it really? So today we've set ourselves a challenge to travel through time and uncover the story of York. Did we manage it? Watch to find out.
We can start off in Roman York. So York then was known as Eberacum, and we learn a lot about this in history at school actually. But here, this building is actually the Multangular Tower, and it's the best remaining Roman remains, I think, in York. Yes, so emperors walked here, including Constantine the Great, who was proclaimed the emperor in York. You can still see Roman remains around the city, so they're like quiet reminders that this was once one of the most important cities in Roman Britain. And if you're a horse racing fan and you've been to York races, then you probably know about the Ebor Festival and the Ebor Handicap. So that's named after the Roman name for York, Eberacum. So after the Romans left, York became an Anglo-Saxon city and it was known as Fawkes. And here behind me you can see York Minster, and that was quickly built on the site of the Roman fortress in 627 to baptise Edwin. He was the king of Northumbria, and the current building was started around 1080 after the Anglo-Saxon predecessor was damaged. It took 250 years to build, and it has become a centre of Christianity and learning. So the roots of York Minster go all the way back to this period, and it's one of the largest Gothic cathedrals in Europe. It's an Anglican church and is the seat of the Archbishop of York.
The Minster is free for residents. Tourists have to pay £20, but you can buy the York Pass, which gives entry to a few attractions.
Vikings have arrived here in York and York became Yorvik. The Yorvik Museum is one of the best places to experience how it was in that time. So if you want to get a smell of the history when the Vikings were in York, that's the place to be.
Now we're gonna show you medieval York, the period between the 11th and 15th century.
Behind me here you can see the ruins of St Mary's Abbey, and it was first built in 1088. But all we see now are the remains, but it was one of the wealthiest and most powerful Benedictine monasteries in England. And it does symbolise two important events in English history. It began after the Norman conquest to reinforce their hold in the north after the 1066, and it was ended by Henry VIII when he reformed the church and he banned all the monasteries. And in fact, Henry converted this abbey buildings into a palace so that he could use it when he visited York. And here we have the Hospitium. So this was built as part of St Mary's Abbey, and it was used to house guests to the abbey.
Now we get to what I think is without doubt the most famous example of medieval York. The Shambles.
The Shambles, originally known as the Great Flesh Shambles, was once filled with butchers. The overhanging timber frame buildings help keep the meat out of the sun. Today, the Shambles is a very popular tourist destination. It has independent shops, cafes and a Harry Potter connection because it was the inspiration for Diagon Alley. Here we should talk about one of its most famous former residents, and it's Margaret Clitherow. So she lived on the Shambles and her second husband was a butcher here. And she converted to Catholicism in 1574, and her conversion led to a refusal to attend Anglican services, and she also allowed secret masses to be held in her house here. But under a new law, this became a capital offence, and Margaret, she was tried and she was sentenced to death. And it was a really horrific death. They put a sharp stone on her back, a huge door, and then weights. Anyway, in 1970, the Pope made Catherine a saint.
Around the corner of the Shambles, you've got the Shambles Market. There you can buy all sorts of stuff, like paintings, food, all kinds.
So here behind me is Clifford's Tower, and it's the largest surviving part of York Castle, and which was built by William the Conqueror in 1068. And it was Northern England's greatest medieval fortress here. So it's served various functions over the years, including it's been a royal mint, it's been a prison. However, this place has a difficult history as well. So there was tragic events for York's Jewish community in 1190. They tried to take refuge during an anti-Semitic programme, but they decided to take their own lives rather than give up their faith. And there is a memorial at the base of this tower. We must mention perhaps the most infamous figure associated with York, Guy Fawkes. Because of him and the Gunpowder plot, every 5th of November we have fireworks and bonfires.
You are not going to believe this, but we are in Betty's. Tell the people what it is, darling.
Well, Betty's is a tea room. It's very famous in Yorkshire. It was established in 1919, and this is the one in York, obviously. And usually there's huge queues, and today we were lucky. There was about 6 people in front, so we're in.
Yeah, we're really lucky because there were only a few people in front of us, and we said, we can't miss this now. So we're gonna take a look what's on the menu, but it's a really, really famous place, and people from all over the world come here.
Yeah.
I think I got enough sugar now for the rest of the year. My God, I'm buzzing. Are you? Unbelievable. My God.
Yeah, so we're now at the York Museum Gardens. So this is in the heart of York. It was established in 1830 as a botanical garden, and it's quite a few hectares, as you can see from this map.
You can visit the Yorkshire Museum, which opened in 1830. It's home of a collection of Yorkshire
Philosophical Society. And here it's a lot of collections for archaeology, geology, paleontology, which are the fossils, or natural history. Also in the museum gardens is the York Observatory. It was built in 1932 and it's the oldest working observatory in Yorkshire.
During the Georgian period, York became a fashionable place to live. You must visit Fairfax House, one of the best examples of Georgian buildings. The Victorians transformed York again with the arrival of the railway.
York has a really fascinating chocolate and confectionery history, and it dates back about 300 years. One of my aunties and some of her sisters worked at the Rowntree factory. So you had Rowntrees, you had Terry's chocolate, and then you had Craven's, which made toffees that had almonds in. I used to love visiting her because I always got a big bag of off-cut chocolates from Rowntree's, and it's fantastic. You can see here some of the Terry's chocolate, which are still going today, Terry's. The Yorkie bar, I remember this advert from the 70s, it was to do with trucking. And the Kit Kat is a big one, we get this in Belgium, don't we? Anyway, if you're interested in this history of the chocolate in York, this is the chocolate story. It's the museum of all of that.
So here behind us you have the York Dungeon. It's really worth visiting it because we went to it with the children 2 years ago, and it was great. For me it was a very special experience because they took me as a victim.
Also here opposite Clifford's Tower is a castle museum in York, and this is my favourite museum. We used to come here on school trips, and it's got a fabulous Victorian street that's all done in Victorian York things. Yeah, we're just on the city walls in York, and you can walk all the way around. It's about 2 miles.
What I like about York is the little streets with the independent shops. So you don't find that a lot anymore in Europe actually. But here you really have still really a lot of independent shops with all sorts of things.
Here our journey through time comes to an end. While we wander through the streets of York, visit a pub for a pint and stop by the York Designer Outlet to get some shoes for Andrea, it's time to say goodbye. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hopefully we'll see you again for the next episode. Bye bye!